Yo, what up, YouTube world? I'm out here in the woods behind the crib. Yeah, this is the backyard. Hope you're doing well. You hear the birds out here at 8 in the morning. It was raining like a mug last night, so everything is very moist back here. There's a whole lot of mosquitoes, so if you see me swatting that stuff, that's why. You know why there are a whole bunch of mosquitoes? Because of stuff like this. Ah, big sitting pools of water. All right, so I'm gonna hop right into it real quick. I like discussing mythos or kind of cultural narratives, myths, histories that are part fantasy, part true, part history, part imagination. Who really knows? Like, if I ask you right now to give me an accurate description of something that happened 10 minutes ago, how well will you be able to do it? How well will that align with the other one or two people that were there and were part of that experience? Will y'all even recount literally what has happened in terms of the mechanics, like A, B, C, D? Then B, will you understand the impact or the significance or the interpretation that all the different individuals involved have had? So trying to recount history is very difficult. And that's when we're talking about 10 minutes ago. Let alone, what really happened 10 years ago? What was hip hop like or let's say 20 something years ago? What was hip hop like back in, the 2000s? Every person you speak to is gonna have a different answer. But a myth will be built. If you say right now, how did hip hop start? A number of people will give you the same answer. And that's due to the myth that's been built. It doesn't mean the myth is untrue or false. So when people say, well, hip hop started off Sedgwick, South Bronx, Cool Herc, at a particular date in a particular place involving these particular people. That's a cultural narrative of how hip hop started. How do we even define hip hop to say when it began, where it began, and whatever? What legitimized this group of people who are saying this and that gets everyone else saying the same thing? Has it helped that MTV, VH1, and other entities have picked up that narrative? Sure, right? Now, does it mean it's not true? Of course not. Does it mean that that's really the only truth? No. So when I think of the beginning of America, right? You hear all this talk of our founding fathers, and there's a cultural myth around that. And in America, part of that cultural myth is these were great men. I look at them as slave traders, as slave owners, as people who are in the military and violent, horrible men, most likely. I look at they created a constitution where women did not have equal rights as men, where black folks were being considered 3/5 of a person for taxation purposes, not even like as a human, but like part commodity, part person, right? That's wild. So the cultural myth behind our forefathers, whose forefathers, even that language, right, is that of they were awesome. And in reality, for me, I'd say they weren't. Now, is it true that these people led a revolution against the British? Sure. Is it true that these people risked their lives? Sure. Is it true George Washington sailed across whatever river? Sure. But again, myth, history, reality, when none of us were there, how do we ever know what really happened? I like those type of questions. And so one myth or one element I've been exploring in like the American mythos and American narrative and history is this notion of individualism. And you hear capitalism, at least laissez-faire capitalism, is based on rugged individualism. It's based on this idea that you pull yourself up from the bootstraps. It's based on this idea of you don't rely on other people and they shouldn't expect you to rely on them. And it absolves you of certain responsibilities to the community. There's a notion that things work better when you think individualistically, that if everyone just did for themselves and everyone knew that everyone was doing things just for themselves, we'd all know how to decision make and would be able to then manage how to engage with each other. Whereas if we're always worried about what other people are doing, we'll not take care of ourselves, which this is one of the notions that you might hear. Again, who knows how true or not. When you think about business, you hear people say, never start a business with friends or family. It always goes bad. When you hear, I think in the world of entertainment, a lot of times it's almost like there's a competition and you are engaged in some competitive exercise with other artists and there can only be one, right? Or this notion of who's the best ever. And individualism gets run. I mean, if you think about it in family life now, it's the idea of I. If you don't do what I want, I dip. And I get it, but humans don't survive as individuals. Historically, there are very few nomadic groups where people spend extended amounts of time totally dolo as the norm. Now, again, I'm not saying there haven't been folks that wandered the woods by themselves for however long. Dolo, like zero other people? Interesting. How early did that start? Like, did someone take care of them when they were a little baby and couldn't move? Probably, right? So humans aren't the type of animals that get birthed out and then the parents dip and leave them on the forest floor and they find a way into a hole and can survive. Nah, humans need other humans. So in our economic thought, in our political thought, in our social thought, we keep forgetting how much we need each other. And I don't mean need each other like when things go wrong or like for help or assistance or as support or in the idea of I need you because I am lacking something. No. It's, I believe, been proven that babies that aren't touched have a different life experience, that like affection and engagement with other humans makes our brain grow differently. Like literally, like if we don't have it, our brain develops differently, right? Then if you think about in much older societies, how you gonna get food? Can you find here? Show me. What you gonna find out here to eat by yourself? You know, like how are you gonna learn anything? And I also say it's a false narrative, not just because historically it's untrue that humans can really be individualistic, but even in this American paradigm, the people that are quote unquote successful that you think about didn't do it dolo. Again, don't start businesses with friends or family. Walmart, it's family business. Okay. You know, you can name how many businesses that were literally run by parent, child, brother, sister. And doesn't Mark Zuckerberg's sister work at Facebook? Don't they the family money? You know what I'm saying? When you think of how many businesses are run with people that started working together, become friends, and then start businesses together. So of course you run businesses with friends and family. Whenever you're trying to raise money, I'll tell you off the top, the first thing that happens when you go to any seminar, workshop, funnel, network marketing, anything, they're like, you know where you get money from? Friends and family. That's your first circle of investors in almost every situation. And then moving into investment, how do you think a hedge fund works? It's not one rich person saying, I got $2 million. You know, if I'm able to generate 3% interest off of this, I have however much of money. Nah, it's that person saying, whoa. If I can get into a pool and me and my 5 friends can get together $25 million, then we can invest in this other entity. Instead of 3% return, we're now getting 7% return, and it's 7% return on 20 million instead of just on the 3. Oh, so let's work together and get this bread. How many people have been made wealthy due to private equity? Almost all exchanges within private equity are dealing with multiple parties. People working together. Okay? And so I just wanted to say that. I've been thinking a lot about it and a lot of like why we're having difficulty in 2023. Why humans are having such issues with each other. And instead of being negative about it, you know, I want to be positive and like say, yo, we haven't exhausted all the opportunities. Let's work together, right? Like solidarity has proven to work throughout human history. Humans, if let's say we've been walking around upright and doing human-like things for 80,000 years, 100,000 years, I believe it's more, but let's say it's just 100,000 years. Monotheism and the 3 Abrahamic religions emerged, what, 2,500 years ago? So out of 100,000 years, 100,000, about 2,000, 3,000 years ago, these religions emerged. And then another 1,000, 1,500 years after that, colonialism emerged. So we're talking about colonialism has been in place less than 1,000 years. Humans survived working with the planet then for 98, 99,000 years. and in the past 1,000 years started fucking it up. That's all right. We are at a net positive. So let's get the mind right. Remember what people used to do. Stop thinking, well, as long as we do what's never been done, it's going to be good. That's not always the case. Not so fast, my friend. Sometimes people had it figured out and the shit was working. And, you know, we get excited as humans. We like, oh, this is working. I'm bored. Let's try something new. And then the something new is not dope. And sometimes that something new becomes habit. Sometimes that something new helps certain members of society more than others, and they have the power to keep it in place, or they put themselves in power to keep it in place and teach people to not seek power. But that's a whole nother discussion. But like I said, don't go for this myth of individualism. Now, again, we're not the Borg. We're not bees or ants. We don't live in a colony. We don't have pre-programmed functions. So I'm an artist. I'll tell you, be yourself. Like, be who you are in your heart, your soul, your chakras, your mind, your spirit, who you need to be. But know that we only exist and survive due to other people, due to support from community, family, strangers, you know? But humans can't survive thinking individualistically. It's not gonna work for us. We gotta remember solidarity, all right? Peace, love. I'm gonna get back to my hike through the woods. That just happens to be my backyard. Oh, and anyone who wants to do a set on that platform, oh yeah, we ready. We ready. I didn't even show y'all. I was out here talking, having a good time. But anyone who wants to come up and perform out here in the woods, we already got the platform set up, dog. And let's spread good vibes. I'm gonna show you this one last thing before I dip. It's very marshy. Oh, look at all these mushrooms. And my feet are getting soaked. All right, last part of this. Here we go. Oh yeah, we got waterways. All right, be safe.